What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel today. This is not going to be a real long video, but I just wanted to get something put together and out on the channel before the weekend. So this video has been requested a couple of different times from several people, and thought I would take a look at it for you. This is really going to be geared more towards the beginner to intermediate player. There are many other mastery guides in better detail than mine if you are towards the end game looking for some explanation on some of the more expensive masteries. You should be able to find that at this point. So again, this is going to be geared more towards the beginner to intermediate player. This is really for your first, I would say, 30 to 40 points, because it's during that time period that you're really very much still learning the game. There are so many masteries that are open to you, and it can be a little bit confusing on what direction you should go in to kind of start with. So hopefully this will be able to give you a little bit of guidance. As always, there is a lot of personal preference and opinion that goes into all this, so take everything I say with a grain of salt, but this is my personal opinion. So let's get into it. Alright, without a doubt, the very first thing that you're going to want to do before you start going down any other trees, offensive or defensive, is go down into the utility, because there you will find two of the very most important masteries that you will have for the rest of the game. So go ahead and put a point into Limber, and then it doesn't make really any difference at this point which one you pick up first, but make sure that you are putting no points anywhere else until you pick up Parry and you pick up Dexterity, which I will give just a very, very brief explanation for both. Parry is, and I'm sure you've seen it if you've been watching YouTubers, but when the enemy comes in and right before he attacks you, you block at the same time you are getting hit. That is going to reduce drastically the amount of damage that you are taking, but also more importantly, it is going to stun the character long enough for you then to go in, to use a special, or to get off a combo, or do whatever you need to do, but that's a very, very essential part of gameplay. So put a point either into Parry or into Dexterity, and then the very next point you get, put into the other. For Dexterity, you can read it. It's evading all attacks while dodging back. Essentially, when they are doing some sort of a special attack, usually this is a projectile or a beam or a bullet, the only way that you're going to be able to get around that is if you evade back at the same time that you're getting ready to take damage. Essentially, the animation is going to look like it just passes right through you, but that is because of Dexterity. So both of those things are absolutely essential to your gameplay. Make sure you pick those up before you do anything else. So once that is out of the way, I would suggest that you probably go over into the offense tree. At this point, so early into your account, most of what you're going to be doing is probably just act exploration, act 1, act 2, and also the arena grind, which everything that you're doing there can be helped if you are hitting harder and getting through the fights quicker. That's why I would suggest going over into the offense tree, which for the first couple of points, you really have no other choice there. You're going to pick up strength, you're going to pick up greater strength, and then from there you kind of branch out a little bit. You can either pick up Pierce or you can pick up Courage. Really, it makes no difference which one you pick up. Personally, I would probably say pick up Courage for only 1 point. 10% increase in your attack damage is pretty good. You'll be surprised how much time, especially in exploration and alliance questing, you actually spend below 50% health. So if it was my account, I would go there with my third point in the offensive tree. From there, you're just going to follow Pierce. Pick 1 point up there, and then you're going to branch out and pick up 1 point in lesser precision, and then 1 point also below that in lesser cruelty. Continuing to follow the tree over, we'll pick up a point in precision, and then pick up a point also in cruelty. Okay, from this point you have got yourself a fairly good platform kind of to build the rest of your masteries around. You've got the utilities, the essential utilities that you need. You've got a little bit of offensive masteries built up for yourself. And from this point, this is 11 points in. You are probably going to be looking, to join an alliance if you haven't already. And if that is the case, then you are probably running maps in the alliance quest and doing alliance wars. And it's very, very important that you try to keep yourself alive as best as possible for obvious reasons, but also so that you're not spending so many units on revives. And the way that you keep yourself alive is over in the defensive tree. So once you've picked up everything you see there on the offensive side, that's 8 points. Switch over into the defense. You're going to pick up a point in vitality. Then you're going to pick up a point in Greater Vitality. I know they really went all out in naming these things. And then I personally would go up and pick up a point in Salve and pick up a point in Recovery. So from here, what you're really trying to accomplish is get over to Willpower, which in order to get Willpower, you're going to need 15 points in the defensive tree, which I know that seems like a ton, but you'll be surprised how quickly you pick those up. Personally, I would go ahead and I would finish up Salve. Go ahead and take that up to rank 3. I know that doesn't seem like a lot of health that you are getting back. In Arena, there's not a huge effect that you're going to see, but when you are running longer events, like when you're running quests or Alliance quest, getting back, let's say 200-300 points per fight is quite a bit when you're talking about running, 10, 11, 12 fights in an Alliance quest, or 4, 5, 6 fights in an Alliance war. That all adds up. And ultimately, that can be the difference between keeping yourself alive long enough to finish off the fight, or you having to spend units to pour in some potions and pour in revives. So that's what I would do. From that point, I would go ahead and I would pick up 2 more points in Recovery, and that gets us to a total of 8. So basically, you've got 7 more points to play with here, and ultimately, I would recommend picking up block proficiency for everybody. But that's only going to be 4 points, which means you're going to have to pick up 3 more somewhere else in the defensive tree. And the defensive tree for me is fairly wide open. When I pick masteries, I try to choose masteries that are going to affect the most champions that I have most of the time. So that's why I'm probably going to stay away from perfect block. I'm going to stay away from stand your ground. I'm going to stay away from energy resistance, because ultimately, well, for perfect block, it's just a very small percentage, but for stand your ground, I really am not wanting to take any damage at all. For energy resistance, probably more than 50% of the characters that you play against don't even do energy damage, so that's going to be very little use. Probably what I would do, and in fact where I do have the points to get to 15, is I went ahead and I put 3 more points into Greater Vitality, which I know it's not the sexiest mastery. It's not going to make any numbers jump off the page at you, but it is a flat, let's see, was it 2.8% increase to your health, which once you get up into the higher ranks, that is actually quite a bit of health, and that really is across the board for every character, for every fight, that gives them that little bit of boost. So that is the reason that I put my points in there. So that finally gets us to 15, and that is enough for us to unlock Willpower. And I know Willpower has been nerfed over the years. It is not anywhere near as good as it used to be. There will probably be people, even in the comment section, that say Willpower is garbage, you shouldn't get it. But I think that it is still a very, very good mastery to have, even in its diminished form. The reason for that is Willpower, in and of itself, when you have a poison on you, or a bleed effect on you, it probably is not going to be totally recovering all of the damage that you are receiving. But what it's doing is it's greatly minimizing the amount of damage that you are receiving. And even if at the end of the day, let's say you took 1,000 damage from a bleed and it was only able to negate, let's say, 600 of that, that is still 600 health that you got back that you wouldn't have otherwise. And again, when you are multiplying that out times however many fights you're playing in Alliance Quest, or however many fights you're getting into in a quest itself, that number really starts to add up. And again, I said it before, that can really be the difference between you being able to finish out a fight and you having to take in another champ or to spend units. So ultimately, for those reasons, I would say to you that Willpower is still a very effective mastery, and I would take the time and spend the units to get that thing ranked up. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put all 3 points into Willpower. Finish that up here real quick. And from this point, we'll jump over back into the offensive tree. So at this point, we are now, 29 mastery points into our build. And you are probably finding yourself now pushing for a little more intermediate content in your alliance. probably pushing map 3, map 4, you will find that your alliance wars are becoming a little more difficult. You're seeing more stacked champions than you were before. So what you're going to want to do is make sure that you are increasing the amount of damage that you're doing in order to compensate for the more difficult content. And the way that you do that is you're going to want to completely max cruelty and precision. And ultimately, I don't think it makes any difference which one you rank up first. What I did when I was taking these up, I remember, is I just put 1 point in cruelty, then I put 1 point precision, and I just went back and forth, keeping them, one after the next until I got them both to 5. Do it however you want it, doesn't make any difference. Just make sure that you get both of them to rank 5 as quickly as possible. So now where does that put us? That puts us at 34, 37. So we're 37 points in. And from here, again, I'm trying to focus more on keeping a low-cost budget build. If you are the type of player who would rather push for more endgame content as soon as possible, then obviously you're going to want to jump down into the Despair Mastery, then get up into Deep Wounds and Assassin. But if you are kind of an intermediate or beginner player still, and you're not necessarily wanting to dump all of those units or time into opening those more endgame masteries, then probably what is best for you, and what I would encourage you getting regardless, is jumping over into Courage. Courage is a really, really good mastery. I'm going to go ahead and put 2 points in there. But what you'll find, and I said it at the beginning, is especially in Alliance quests, and really into Alliance wars to some point, but in Alliance questing, you'll find that as you get into Tier 2, Tier 2 and then Tier 3 of the maps, your champion is dwindling down health, and you'll find that you probably play several matches below 50% health. Courage is going to be a really, really big boost for you when you're below 50% health. There's really no other mastery in the game that for 3 points gives you 20% increased damage, and that really can't be overlooked. So that got us now to 39 points. To push us up and over 40, I would jump back over into the utility tree and go ahead and finish off Parry. Parry gets you all the way up to, at rank 3, 25% decreased damage, which is really quite a bit. From here, your build is going to be very much based upon what you are doing in the game and what your plans are in the game moving forward. If you are, an arena grinder, then I wouldn't put any points anywhere else until I went over and got recoil, got glass cannon, and then the suicide masteries, as they're called, liquid courage and double edge. Those are both going to see your PI jump way, way up, which is going to give you a lot more points in the arena. If you are looking for more, towards endgame content for Alliance questing and Alliance wars, then obviously, as I mentioned before, you're going to want to jump down now into the Despair, Deep Wounds, and Assassin. I would probably suggest, if you are trying to play on a budget, before you do jump down into those more expensive masteries, that you go over and you look at Stupefy, Petrify, and Pacify over in the utility tree. Those are that's hard to say quickly, but Stupefy and Petrify especially are very, very helpful. You would be surprised at Stupefy at rank 3 how much half a second really is. That may be the difference between you finishing off a combo and being able to start another one. That also really helps when you're running in Alliance Wars against characters that have Limber. Characters that have Limber are able to get out of their stun locks much quicker, and if you have that additional half second, that does help you out quite a bit. In addition to that, the longer that you have them stunned, with Petrify, they are going to be receiving less power gains and less health coming back to them, which when you combine that with the Despair Mastery, when they are stunned, they are going to be receiving a very, very minimized amount of health from Willpower. So Despair and Petrify are really good to stack on top of one another. Alright, I know at the beginning I said it was going to be a quick video, and I just looked up and realized I had been talking for about 15 minutes, so I apologize if this was a bit on the long side. I didn't intend for it to be that way. So I will end it there, as I always do, by saying leave your questions down in the comments below. I will do my best to get to as many of them as I can. It is becoming a little bit more difficult. When I first started, there were just like, I don't know, 2 comments a day, and now it's like a full-time job keeping up with them, which I'm not complaining about. I would rather have that than nothing going on the channel. So All of that to say, hit me up in the comment section. I'll get you there. On Twitter, as always, you can follow me over there. Send me videos, send me pictures. Would love to see and hear from everybody. All right, until the next video, guys, have a great day. Take care.